Good morning. Called the special meeting of the Mayor and City Council for the City of Columbus for Thursday, May the 25th, 2023 to order. At this time, I would ask Assistant Chief Johnson to please open us in prayer.
Gracious and God, our Father, we thank you for this another blessed day. We thank you for your mercy and your grace. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to serve. And we lift up these city leaders and all those that are there in the different capacities that they're serving. We pray that this meeting and everything will be done according to your will, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Just to be clear to everybody, this is a special call meeting. It is not a work session since we will not be having a council meeting on Tuesday. This was called to take up some issues that we need to deal with in the month of May before our next board meeting in June. So first on the agenda, before we get started, does the council have anything they'd like to say? Yes. She can hear. Can you hear me, Councilwoman DeChico?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I would say in the future, if it's a special call meeting, just like we're able to pull up stuff on our iPad for our regular meeting, either email it to us or send it to us in advance so we'll have it in advance, especially if we got to vote on something.
Any other comments? Oh, did you get that to Ms. Stewart? If not, we will ask Mr. Lewis to come forward. Good morning.
For you to approve some fees for Disney Dean baseball. We have the tournament that's coming up on the 15th, and usually we meet the Tuesday before our meeting, but this year they're going to be meeting on the 3rd, which is going to be, and we're not going to have a meeting. Like you were saying, I thought we were going to meet Tuesday, but that's an oversight on my part. But there's sanctioning fees, there are tournament fees. The tournament fees, we're sending 6 teams. The tournament fee is only $50, so that's a total of $300. Then you have what is called a appearance fee or a no-show fee. It's not a charge. All you have to do is show up for the game, and you get your $250 back. So that $250 that we're asking for is kind of like a surety bond that our team shows up. If they don't, they lose it. If they show up, win, lose, or draw, they shred it or either give it back to me to turn back into the city. And that's going to come out. I don't know the exact price, but that's $250 per team, and that's what I'm asking for this morning.
$250 plus $300?
Yes, it's $300. See, that check can be together. So for the whole tournament, we got 6 teams at $50 a piece. That's $300. But the surety, the appearance fee has to be separate. For example, let's say everybody showed up except for the 9 and 10-year-old team. Disney Dean is not going to write me a check for $250, but they will keep that itemized check for $250 and give me the rest of the checks back.
Just curious, are the teams on the hook if they don't show up, or is the park on the hook?
We're on the hook. The city's on the hook. Now,
So there's no guarantee. I mean, you're trusting that these teams are going to show up, or we're out $250, not them.
We've never lost $250. We've never lost the $250. But what I'm saying is anything could happen, but we've never lost the $250. And what happens is we usually know ahead of time. So by the 3rd, if I got a team that's not coming, I let John know that this team is not coming, and then we're good. But it's when it comes tournament time, when it, like on June the 15th, when they don't show up, that's when you can lose your money. But all of our teams have always shown up in the past.
Where is this?
It's going to be in Louisville. It's going to be in 2 of them are going to be in West Point, and 1 is going to be in Cleveland.
And you're asking for advertising municipal resources?
Actually, I was taking it out of my budget. And line item 107. 350-503-000, those are dues and subscriptions that we have, that we take our fees out of. It comes out of the same line item as soccer, as any sports fee, any franchise fee.
And these tournaments in the future is something we could bid on to get.
Absolutely.
That's a bid process.
Absolutely.
I make a motion. We approve.
Second.
Mayor,
Yes.
I couldn't understand most of what you said. Would you summarize, please? Are we voting on something?
Yes, we are voting on the finance fees for the Disney Dean baseball softball tournament. And what's the total amount again?
Okay, for all teams, you have a fee of $300, and then, for each team, there is an appearance fee of $250 per team, so that amounts to be $1,500, but it's $250 for each team. But once everyone shows up, you get the $1,500 back.
Did you get that, Jackie? I mean, Councilwoman DeChico?
No, I can't understand anybody else.
Okay, it's $1,500, but once everybody shows up, we get that money back, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
and it's the all-stars,
yeah.
And that's something we normally do.
And that's something we normally do.
Yes.
Yeah.
1,800.
1,800.
I'm sorry.
1,500 back.
And you get, 1,800 and you get 1,500 back.
Get 1,800 back.
You get 1,800 back.
1,800, get 1,800.
Okay.
You get the money
Wait
back.
a minute, you're not getting the 300 back though.
300 is not
So
coming
that's what I'm
back.
saying, so it is 18 plus 3 is 21 then, right? Well, then if it's 18, then you're still getting 15, so, cause you're not getting the 300 back, right?
You're not getting the 300
Right.
back.
So it's 1,800 and you get
Oh,
1,500
that
back.
fee,
Yeah,
it's two different fees.
yeah.
Right.
Trying to keep it
Well,
simple.
we're just saying the total of what we're asking for today though is what?
Yes, you're correct.
1,800.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
I have a question, just
Yes.
curiosity. Since it's in your budget, it's already budgeted, why are we voting on it?
Because, you won't have a council meeting before it's approved.
No, but why do we have to vote on it if it's already in his budget to be used for this? If it was already set aside
That
in
would
the
be something
budget?
that would normally come on the docket that you would approve, and since it's not going on the docket,
Okay.
that's why.
I was just curious, is that correct?
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out why we were voting on it if it's already in his budget.
Do you have to ask this every time?
Well, I mean, it's just like when we submit bills. I mean, it goes on the docket and you all approve to vote.
Okay.
So that means she would be cutting a check before you all.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, technically, it will still be on the docket because it'll be on as a
It'll
check.
show up again. Yeah, okay. Just want to be clear on that. Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Raise your right hand. Did you raise your right hand, Councilwoman DeChico? You did? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Next on the docket is to discuss and approve the 2023 COLA resolution for PERS. Ms. Mitchell, can you explain that to us? This is what we had to get done in May, the month of May.
This is standard. It's presented to you for approval every year in May. PERS has requested it. We need to approve the resolution to continue to fund the Policemen and Firemen's Fund. Those are individuals that were employed prior to PERS going into effect. And by approving this resolution, you're agreeing to continue to pay those retirees, and I believe now there's 32 on the plan.
32 retirees.
Yes, sir.
This is something that comes up every year?
Yes, sir.
You have a copy of the resolution?
Yes, it was sent to everyone, I believe.
Oh, I don't know, sometimes we get emails.
How would this
Stuff in your
affect,
spam.
with the PERS, how would it affect the people that's already here working? Is the prices going up now? Cause I'm hearing a lot about this on national TV now.
The COLA payment has no impact on the employees that are currently working. Now, Mr. Brigham can elaborate on the PERS that will be increasing, the employer portion that will increase July 1, 2024.
Next year.
Yes. And so Mr. Brigham will just have to budget for that increase.
So is that gonna change, say for you, for instance? How would that affect you since you got all your time in now, you was to retire now, would that affect you?
No, if I were to retire now, no, but for those
you wait.
individuals that retire after July 1, 2024,
Yeah.
the employer's match will increase. So that would increase their retirement.
So if we voted no today, what would happen?
Oh, this is, I think this is just standard procedure because we funded them since 1970.
I'm just curious, I didn't know this was something that an employer had to approve the COLA check. That's,
But This is not current employees. This is the employees that were under the policeman and fireman's fund.
They weren't under, what we're under now,
Right.
as PERS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Brigham, can you elaborate?
If you didn't vote to it, they wouldn't get their payment, I'm assuming.
Right.
Well, I think the resolutions, a call resolution, the cost of living adjustment. This is the group that, as they pass away or their benefit, people getting the benefits pass away, it is going away. We're the only, last year, I believe, when we attended the meeting first, the city of Columbus is the only one that's completely paid up
That is correct.
on this group of employees. Nobody can, I mean, that's a locked group that as they pass away and the benefits pass away, that group will be closed out. But this is an adjustment to just keep that whole process with us. And I guess last year I thought we had about 60, that's why we're down to 32.
I think it's 32.
You can see that the group is getting smaller because the whole group is retired. But this is a standard procedure that we have to do every year.
And I'm gonna speculate, but I'm gonna say if you don't pay it, if you don't vote to approve it, you're still gonna owe it. At some point, you're gonna have to pay it, so
They'll come after
you're
it.
just kicking it down the road if you don't approve it.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hands. Is that a yes from you, Councilwoman DeChico?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Motion carries, unanimous. Next on the agenda, we have discuss and approve ending the IT contract with independent contractor on May 31st, 2023. This is the IT assistant. Ms. Garrett?
This is the contract for Mr. Bailey, who works as assistant to IT. He will be ending his contract May 31st, and just wanted to make sure that was approved by you all. But I also wanted to introduce our new IT director, Maya Thompson. She has come aboard and she's hit the ground running.
She has.
What's her name?
Maya Thompson.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion.
Minus pay.
Okay, thank you, Jackie, or Councilwoman DeChico. Motion passes unanimous. Now, were we supposed to do a voice vote on the resolution?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to go back and do a voice vote on the resolution. Starting with
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
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 and she said yes. Okay, so that did. All right, now we are at the trash. Mr. Brigham, if you can bring the trash to us, please.
First of all, I think I want to start this little presentation with expressing the city and my personal appreciation to the companies who responded to this RFP. You know what, we've gotten great support from these 4 companies, and I look forward to working with one of them, your choice going forward. So we met in a work session month ago, and Councilman Green had asked that we go back to these 4 companies and talk to them about, is it possible, because we were concerned about the cost, is it possible to go to, what would the rate differential be if we went with 1 pickup a week, and then what would the rate differential be if we went with or without bins? And I have collected that information, and it's on the spreadsheet in front of you. I will tell you that when you look at it, the first column of rates is the 2 times per week that was originally given to the city back in March.
Bless you.
And then you'll see the times per week column of 1, and then you'll see what the companies came in with at costs for one pickup a week with bins, and then also one pickup a week without bins. I will tell you that when I looked at all of the proposals, my consideration really was, first one has to be for our citizens, that is the reliability and the service level that people will be able to get from these. And I'm confident that actually all four, including our current provider, will be able to meet our service requirements and reliability level, especially since Golden Triangle, since they've gotten their equipment challenges under control and gotten a new truck. I haven't heard the mayor talking about a lot of complaints about trash pickup and stuff. So it looks like, you know, they're able to execute right along with everyone else. The other, though, probably most significant concern of mine was the cost difference. And I just want to explain, bring everyone up to date. You know, currently the Light and Water, Columbus Light and Water bills their customers $17.50 a month for trash pickup. That $17.50 a month, we get billed right now from Golden Triangle at $10.50 a month. So we right now typically, and it changes each month, but we typically have about somewhere between 9,500 and 9,700 accounts that are billed on a monthly basis. That $7 differential goes towards paying for the disposal cost at the Golden Triangle disposal. That runs us about $18,000 a month. Plus we pay for recycling. Right now we pay for bulk drop-off with Waste Pro right now. So there's not $7 worth of profit in there. There's just other costs that are being paid with that differential. When we looked at the original numbers, even at $17.50 a month, there wasn't any rate at 2 times a week that was less than the $17.50, much less considering the $10.50. So we would have had a significant rate increase at 2 times pickup a week. Now, if we go to the one, and I still think that, and with the bins, and it's my opinion that the bins are the right way to go. When you look at the companies that came forward, there was significant price decrease, and including, and obviously the Aero Disposal Service number at $11.97 for one pickup a week with bins is the best number there. I will tell you that I did some research into each of the 4 companies. Waste Management is obviously the largest company. It's got a significant commitment to safety and customer service. You know, it has technology within the trucks themselves, both the onboard computer systems and cameras that help with improving customer service. You know, I think, and I want to acknowledge that Waste Management has been awarded one of 135 companies worldwide that have been awarded the world's most ethical companies by Ethisphere, which is a big plus in my world. Waste Pro is a large company. It's got a lot of Mississippi clients, a lot of local presence. We use them currently for our recycling and our bulk drop-off. And Golden Triangle responded well, but I was most interested, primarily because of the service level and the cost, of Aero Disposal Service. Aero Disposal Service is out of Abbeville, Alabama. It has about 135,000 customers or something like that now. And they are about to become the selected trash collector for a city in Alabama. I called their city clerk this morning to find out why they picked Aero Disposal. They're replacing Republic Disposal with Aero. And I have not heard back from her yet, but I've looked through all of their, the other thing I did is I checked the Better Business Bureau for all of these companies to look at how they respond to complaints. And I was really amazed that first of all, when I looked at the Better Business Bureau in Mississippi for aero disposal, they only had 17 complaints. I mean, the other companies are huge companies, and so they have thousands of complaints. But of those 17 complaints the Better Business Bureau had on aero disposal, each one of them was addressed by the company, acknowledged when they made a mistake, and compensation given back to those customers, appropriate compensation when they made a mistake. I was really actually amazed at, you don't normally see that kind of a response from a service company. And so at this point in time, given all the consideration, particularly the cost consideration for our citizens, the customers, my recommendation to the council, and certainly we'll talk about it more and I'll answer whatever questions you can. And we do have some representatives from those companies here today if you have a particular question. But my recommendation would be that we go forward with aero disposal service.
Jim, quick question on this chart where it says rate second, and then there's a 7 and a 10.34. What are those?
Those were the rates for a second bin, if somebody wanted a second bin.
Okay, second bin, okay.
Okay. I know Aero also, because I was looking at the documentation for the new service over in Alabama, and they'll offer a second bin at a cost. But you know, right now I think the 95-gallon bin, even one pickup a week, will be sufficient for most households. But you can get a second one if you need.
And let me be clear to the council too. I know that Councilman Jones mentioned not having a lot of the information before the meeting today. This is not required to be voted on today.
No.
This can be voted on at another time. This is just giving y'all more information.
When does this contract?
Our contract ends with Golden
September.
Triangle in September.
But I do want to recommend that we make a decision near the future, because there are considerations that whatever company you pick will need to realign equipment and acquire employees and stuff. So I just think that, you know, we need to be, the request was probably to have 90 days at least prior to the transition.
And I believe we do have representatives from 2 of the companies here.
Yes, well, I know we have Mr. Moore.
Right, I represent Aero Disposal Service, Jimmy Moore.
Now, Philip Crossley, I represent Waste Pro here in Columbus.
Waste Pro. Did council want to have any questions for these 2 gentlemen?
How long is this contract? A year-to-year basis, or?
The way the state of Mississippi allows us to handle an RFP for trash collection is that once we select the company, we can negotiate the contract. I would guess that we would probably want to do a multi-year because they're making an investment here in the community. So it would either be a 3 or 5 year type of contract, but that can be negotiated along with particulars such as, you know, some of our city service that we're asking them to also, that we'll be paying them for, but that are non-resident type services that are for the city buildings and stuff. So that's all negotiable after we pick the company.
I guess what I was asking for is if we go to 1 a week and we find out that we're not happy and not getting what we deserve, at what point can we go back and try to add the second week? Is that a year-to-year, or if we're tied into 3 years of once a week, or how that works?
Well, that's a good question, because then we have to, I think.
I'm sure everything's negotiable, but it comes with a price.
Yeah, I think if you make that determination, I think we have to go back to the table and say, okay, what is it gonna cost? What's the difference that our consumers would have to pay for a monthly service if it's 2 times a week?
And we also brought up the fact that some of the elderly or some of the people might not be able to actually push that big bin to the curb, and you mentioned that some.
They call that backdoor service, and everyone that I talked to in these proposals had backdoor service.
Okay.
As long as the city authorized it and that the person met the requirements that we have for, if it's medical requirement or whatever.
What was your recommendation, Mr.?
My recommendation was aero disposal service.
Which one?
Aero, 1197.
Aero disposal?
See, that's
okay,
11.
I hear what you're saying, and thank you for all the work that you have put into this, you know, working with these guys. But I'm getting phone calls. I don't know if any other councilmen are getting some or not. I mean, it seems like we making a decision that we're really not talking to the people who the decision is going to affect. You hear what I'm saying? At your household, Jim, it's just you and your wife. There's households out here that got 5, 6, 7 kids, and them bins getting filled before that one time before they come back. So what I'm looking at is that decision with me. I can't speak for nobody but Mickens. I would have to look at my constituents, how they telling me I still need my 2 pickups. That's where I'm at. Certain neighborhoods gonna need them, and certain neighborhoods not gonna need them. And I think we have to take all of this into consideration, you know, before we make a decision on which way we're going. I mean, everything got to be looked at. That's all I'm saying.
And I agree with you. The issue is, are there more that need 2 bins? Or are there more that are concerned about the price that would have to go from, right now, $17.50 to almost $30 a month?
Now,
I'm sure they're gonna cut some of them down right there.
I mean, that's,
You won't get any phone calls tomorrow.
you know, for 2 times a week.
Well, that's what I think he was pointing out, was that going to the 1 per week really brought the prices down.
It
brought
keeps it
them
to
closer
the
to what
point where
they're
we're not
paying
doing
now.
a drastic price
And that's what we
change.
have to think, like Mr. Mickens was saying, we have to think about the constituency and what they can afford and what quality.
But what
of
they
work can
need
we
also,
bring to them.
so.
We still want the quality. We want the service
You
now.
want the service, yeah, and the bins, I think, are popular, Mr. Stewart, or you still,
But that's pretty small.
the bins.
I have a question.
on the second bin, I know Arrow didn't have a price on their second bin. Can you give us a price on that? How much a second bin would cost so the citizen would know, you know, before we make a decision? And
And also,
also,
no sign on our part, and Mr. Brigham asked for revisions. For residential, the second bid would be $9.97,
okay.
and for commercial business is $11.97.
990, 1190.
I apologize for that, that was an oversight on my part.
And also, with your trucks, will you have individuals riding on the truck, dumping the bins? or is it just-
Automatic side loaders.
Okay, so
Drive on.
now downtown, we have a lot of people that park on streets. We have a lot of people that park on the streets, so how would that affect them?
Well, at the time, I think the,
Charlie, you got the mic to the back, so everybody at home can hear you.
I beg your pardon?
If you got that volume, so everybody at home can hear you, please.
We're on Facebook and they can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think the RFP required or allowed start time of 6 AM, is that correct?
Sound about
Yeah,
it.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
So downtown here, we should be through and gone before people start parking.
No, not
If that's
just
the answer to your
downtown, no,
question.
I'm talking about houses, people that live in, you know, even over here, over there, you know, they park on the street, a lot of them.
It may be a learning process for residents of Columbus to place that cart where the truck can reach it. Just like it is for a guy riding on the back of the truck or guys, most contracts require 35 feet from the travel edge of the road. It's the same principle. It's just a one-arm automated truck picking it up as opposed to a person.
With that, Mayor, could we put something in play? I'm just asking a question. I noticed in the cities up north, when the snow would hit the street, you had even and odd days to park on this side. If it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you park on the right side. If it's Tuesday, Thursday, you park on the left side. So could we let the constituents know in advance what day the truck is coming so they could have time enough? Would that make sense to you, Councilman Jones?
I have all enough time getting them parking, not park on hills and all the stuff that they supposed to do.
If we earn the business of the city of Columbus, we will share with the public what day each ride is. Each cart has a sticker on top telling the route day. And, you know, bag of garbage, put it in there, all the essentials of cart collection. It'll be on a sticker. At my home, I live in Lauderdale County, and we do City Meridian. No, we don't. Excuse me, Philip. I'm sorry. We do the county, and my cart was 12 years old, and I can still read the sticker. So it's weatherproof, it's covered, but to answer your question, sir, that's the answer. Automated side loaders. And if we find a need for an additional piece of equipment, if the council, the mayor is not happy with what we're doing, we've never failed because we couldn't pick the garbage up.
What if somebody has excess that overflows their one bin?
Okay. I'm gonna give you the correct answer. First of all, we know that Christmas and Thanksgiving, everybody's gonna have extra garbage.
That's true.
Need to bag it and set it adjacent to the cart. And that guy just have to get it, okay? For those holidays. Automated side loader collection, what you're talking about is one of the drawbacks. The benefits are that arm shows up every day, where some labor does not show up every day. The way we approach that, it would be in our contractual agreement. Occasional bags we'll get. If we go to a home, it was mentioned earlier, that has several children at home, and every week, if there are 8 to 10 bags, then we're gonna call the representative of the city of Columbus and say, look, they need to get another cart. You know, we're just not gonna continue to get that overflow outside the cart, but occasional bags, bag garbage, we'll pick it up.
Golden Triangle is not here, right? I have a question for them, they're not here, right?
I have a question, we're currently with Golden Triangle, so I'm always concerned about job market. Now, your company come in, and if we went with your company, have you looked at employing any of the employees from Golden Triangle? Because a lot of them live here in the city, they're family members, they're relatives, they're friends.
Yes, ma'am.
So what would happen?
Everywhere we start a contract residential collection, we promote and try to hire from that location, first of all. If they meet our job requirements, which are not any different than any other solid waste collection company, you know, background check, pre-employment drug screening, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If they meet our criteria and we come to terms on compensation, then we want to hire local. And we will buy everything local. But, you know, the number of employees certainly would be diminished. I would not be truthful if I didn't say that. If we own your business, because we'll have a manager and 3 drivers, and have those 3 trucks running 5 days a week. But we would hire here first if there's an interest and if they agree and we agree, being the employees.
Thank you, I just want to make sure some consideration was
Yes,
given
ma'am.
to employees that are already doing the job.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
How well are those sidearms working that you say show up all the
They're
time?
working so much better than they used to that I'm excited about them. I make this statement to a lot of people, and I don't profess to be an expert. Even though I'm over 50 miles from home, I don't have a briefcase with me, so I'm not an expert. But years ago, and I know where the question come from, Mayor Gaskin. Years ago, when side loaders first came out, they were a nightmare for maintenance, for operation. They had all kinds of issues. That has moved forward tremendously, because now people don't realize you can get side loaders like what I call baby garbage trucks, little ones that are easy to maneuver. They're not the big monsters they used to be. The articulating arm will reach out farther than it used to. The dump into the truck is not as high as it used to, thus tearing down limbs and damaging the truck. So there's been a lot of advantages in technology over the years. I made the statement, and you can look at me and tell I'm an older dude because of my hair and my wrinkles. I've been in the solid waste business 30 years. I started in '92. I have said recently that in 10 years, you won't see a rear loader. Now I'm gonna back that up. In 5 years, you won't see a rear loader. And the problem with that, not a criticism or true statement, is the labor pool. It is hard to find people. That is hard work. To stay on the back of that truck day in, day out, rain, sleet, hail, or snow, like the U.S. Postal Service. That is the main reason, right there. One example last week, where my office is, Meridian, we do Lauderdale County and about 6 other places out there, run 14 trucks a day out of that one location. But we had one day, out of the blue, out of left field, no knowledge, 2 drivers and 4 helpers didn't show up. Now, you're in a tailspin when that happens. But anyway, I'll hush. They're much better than they used to be. And again, the question about cars parked on the road and so forth, there's a learning curve for residents, yes.
Yeah.
But you don't hammer them. explain where we need the cart to be within reason. And it's not as specific as it used to be. I know solid waste companies in the past, they literally took flags, like you mark water line and stuff out, and stuck at residences where the cart needed to go, which was time consuming, but it had to be done because we couldn't get it any other way. But they're very viable these days.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. On the waste bin, will there be a weight limit on it? Because I'm familiar in some cities, if, let's say, I clean my yard and I put concrete bricks in there, they will leave that trash bin behind and won't carry it. So is there a limit to what can be put in that waste bin?
In the cart, in the waste bin, the cart, the roll-out cart,
Right.
speaking of, the manufacturer has a weight limit. All of them are very similar. I'd have to read it to tell you, but I want to say, and my educated counterpart, Philip, can hit me. I want to say it's like 300 pounds. It was kind of the general. What is it?
Well, you've got the max cart capacity that it will probably hold that. Now, was all maybe side loaded or any other concrete block?
Let me get you to come up to the mic, sir, if you don't mind. And I was gonna give you an opportunity.
That's fine. The concrete block or that type of thing, you don't want that dumping up and over into the floor to damage the floor of the truck itself. Now, generally, you're looking at that you would like to keep the cart itself at 150 pounds or less, to tell you about it.
Will there be communication from the company, or is it the city responsibility
I
to
think
let the
that-
resident know what to put in there? Because now they don't have bins. This would be a new process.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
In our case, it'll be on that sticker on the cart advising the resident what can and can't go in there. And, you know, we can tailor that, show the council the language on the sticker before we put it on there, before they're ever delivered. What you're comfortable with and we're comfortable with to put on there to tell the residents.
And I think, Ms. Stewart, if we go with something like this, it would be incumbent on us as the city to keep pushing that information out to folks so they get used to it.
Yeah, I know it had the lowest rate, than everybody. How long would that rate be on it? Like, you know, we went with y'all today and, you know, next year y'all raise your rates to, you know, $10 more, you know, just to get money. You may not be making money now, but that's not the plan.
Well, solid waste companies take in a lot of money, but making a little bit's the hard part. All our contracts have what's called a CPI, Consumer Price Index, based on national indices from the United States Department of Labor. The one commonly used is, I can't remember all the words, water and sewer, because it's applicable, garbage, water, and sewer is applicable to our industry. And every year there is a CPI increase, and it has been higher of late because of our economy. And I just saw a letter yesterday going to my home county. It was a higher percentage than it has been. But as far as just saying, hey, we're not making money, we want some more, we don't do that. If there is a need, we will approach the council, the mayor. You know, if diesel goes to $5 a gallon, nobody knows that. Nobody has a crystal ball. We can petition the council and say, look, diesel is this is how much we burn a week. We would like to recoup that because that's an expense we didn't have when we started the contract. But as far as what's in the contract, CPI, and that's routine for, to my knowledge, all solid waste collection companies. We cannot arbitrarily just go up on them.
Each year,
Sir?
at each annual
What,
review?
on the, I can't talk, anniversary date, excuse me.
But that's an annual anniversary, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We can revisit
We don't have
those
to
two
vote on
chapters.
this today.
We can-
But
No,
it's-
I don't think we should vote today because there's two council members that are not here.
Could we put that in writing, that we can review?
And that would give y'all more time to review and think of more questions. I would not suggest a vote today with two council members not being here. I don't think that's fair.
One question, I'm done. Replacement for the trash bin.
Ma'am?
Sometimes.
Replacement.
Is
We-
that at a cost to the customer or to your company?
At some point, perhaps. That's the only way I can answer that question. We maintain the carts. If the lid's torn off, unless we can show you it's abuse from the resident.
Okay.
If somebody still has a wood burning heater and throws hot ashes in it and melts the side out of it, then that's, that happens.
He told you he was old.
That happens, trust me. Don't laugh, I mean, I know I'm old. I'm not gonna bore you with the story, but I want to tell you one thing about being old before I sit down. We maintain the carts, the axles, the lids, whatever. Our process is customers call our customer service center. The manager here would get a work order, whether by computer or paper, and he would go out, repair the cart, or have someone do whatever. And then when he does that, he signs it, dates it, sends it to customer service center, so it's documented. Yes, it was done that day. If someone abuses the cart, and it's obvious that the resident abused it, then we ask support from the council that they pay for another cart, and we'll deliver it to them. But in general, there's no problem with that. Now the story, and I'll shut up unless you have a question. Last Saturday night, I attended a very unusual gospel concert. A friend of mine's got a group, and it was at a fish camp. Total different venue for them, but compensation was a tip jar on the floor in front of where they were singing. So my wife and I were sitting there, and I saw the line thin down for payment for the meals. I said, I'm going up and pay for the meal now while nobody's up there, because this place was full. I go up, take my debit card, pay for it, put it in my pocket. I call it a fishing shirt with a little Velcro that you open up. And I went to the fish bowl to put in my tip. I'd written a check. I take the check, throw it in the fish bowl, sit down, I get home that night. I reach in, clean out my pocket, and there's my check. I put the receipt from my debit card in the fish bowl. So, yeah, I'm old. It's been fun.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I see we have a representative from Waste Pro. In all fairness, did you want to speak to your bid at all or take questions?
Well, I'd just like to throw in just a little bit.
Come on in. We're jumping on.
I'd just like to state that Waste Pro bought a company here, MIWD, in 2011. Combined together has had a presence within the city limits of Columbus for 50 plus years now. So with that, our trucks, when we leave, our people, our employees are all here and live here. When we leave our yard, we're picking up trash. When we come back in the afternoons, we're picking up. The operational plan here with our setup was rear loaders with cart flippers to tip the carts and the cart. We also included a supervisor and a pickup to go around to take care of the customer service issues that you may have. We've been here. We would like to help or do anything that we can. We've had a long-standing relationship with the city on different things that we provide or
We have a contract
services.
with y'all now, don't we, for our recycling?
Recycling, yes, sir. In addition, the Market Street and a lot of the local things that we provide roll-off service and stuff as well. That was there. That was included the way I'm sure all the operational plans were reviewed and looked. I just wanted to restate it that yes, we have the rear load trucks. We do have the mechanical flipper or tippers that will be not manually hand dumping or hand picking up trash, but it will be a person that'll have to operate from the back of the truck. Any other questions?
Council?
Thank y'all.
Thank you both. Okay, we will move into the last, this will also be something we obviously will not be voting on today, but an update from Mr. Stafford on our paving considerations.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'll say, and as the mayor said too, I think today is for maybe opening up discussion. Y'all recall we had a couple of town halls and invited in, probably had about 25 to 30 folks that responded both in person and online. Didn't find a lot of things that were new that were not already on the list. Of course, one or two people would say just pave the whole city, but nonetheless, a little while back, y'all should have received an email of each of your wards of the streets that are in poor to very poor condition. for all of you. And with that, we have also kind of hit pause at this point in time. We want y'all's direction because in the past we've done this a lot of different ways. One thing we haven't done and don't want to do is to assess every road, find out every manhole that needs to be raised, every water valve, every sidewalk that needs to be repaired just to find we're not going to pave the road. So like we did last time, we threw out, there were about $6.5 million worth of roads that needed to be done. Y'all set the bar at about $5 million, and so then we started getting together with y'all individually to form your list. And so that's kind of where we are. I haven't gotten with any of you yet, and I want to, but until we know where the bottom line is that we have to draw so that we start cutting or adding roads to each of your wards, can we start that discussion? The other thing I don't want to do is send this list to our utility providers, and they start cutting roads that we're not even going to pave as well, that we have no concern with right now. So I can't start that conversation until we have, as I always say, a better dartboard to throw at. And so there's a few considerations that for discussion really for y'all, which is how much funding wise to what level. I do know that now that's kind of new, that's never been at the table with y'all in the past, is y'all have the 2%, or not 2%, the Internet Sales Tax or the Modernization Act tax that comes to you every year. And Jim, correct me, it's a little over $1 million a year that has to be spent on roadway projects only. And so that's where this funding would come from. So from a bond issuance, if that's the route you go, you have a way to pay that back automatically now. And that's really what that fund is fully intended for. You can pay old debt or create new debt. And I think I've mentioned in the past that our sister city, City of Starkville, they passed a $10 million bond to pave roads, and they're using that fund exactly over the next 10 years, round numbers, to help pay for that bond. So that's just one way to use it, obviously. But then the other thing that y'all have done in the past, sometimes y'all have used it for drainage. Y'all have used it for street lighting. You've used it for improving crosswalks. You obviously have always used it for sidewalks and ADA improvements, much less road improvements. Do we want to open it up? What's the scope of that? And so do we look at drainage like we have in the past? Or the last two times y'all done it, the last time y'all did it, you did roadway only. You did no drainage. And then the other consideration is, do you split it evenly over the wards and everybody decides what they do with their allocation? Or do we do it where streets only and we go to the highest need? And while, yes, we may set the base list, I always tell folks, 90-95% of that list, it may have come from us initially, but the last 10, 15, 20% comes from that coordination with you guys and the utility companies. And so I know that's a lot of questions that we have, but until some of those are answered for us, can we really move the ball forward on putting a list out there? And as we'd like to always do, we'd like to put the list out in public. And so, but we also need to know kind of where that line is going to be drawn, because the last thing we want to do is put a list out there and all of a sudden somebody's street gets cut because of funding limitations. And so I just want to start that conversation with y'all so that we can then go get in the car and start riding, looking at your lists and trying to truly evaluate each of your wards for a final listing to put out for bids.
What's the timeline that we need to have this decision to you?
It's crazy right now. I was talking to the county. We took $2.5 million worth of bids at MSU 3 weeks ago. The unit price on asphalt right now is around $160 a ton. I always tell folks, in 2007, we were spending $55 a ton. I just can't see that amount being sustainable. Last year was $130, so you're $30 more than just a year ago. So your dollar doesn't stretch near as far. Some of the lists that we had that we're sitting at right now was around $5 million just a year ago. Is now closer to 6.5. Of course, we've added some to it. What we've done right now, and what y'all probably saw, hopefully, and I do have your list here, by the way. I'll give those to you again in hard copy format, much less an email. But what we've added since then is we added 10% for sidewalks, because historically we have found that your complete street ordinance requires you to look along the side of the streets, much like outside the asphalt, in other words, and repair curb and gutter that's been damaged or that's sinking in, repair sidewalks. And we find that's usually around a 10% cost on average for all the wards. As y'all can imagine, the downtown wards have more concrete cost than some of the outlying. I know wards 1, wards 2 in East Columbus, in other words, don't have as many sidewalks as the downtown wards. And so you have a lot of concrete costs that come into play there. That adds 10% overall to the cost, roughly. We added a 10% contingency. Historically, we've never had higher than about a 2 to 3% contingency add at the end of a project. So we've had good cost control, but for the sake of planning right now, not knowing what roads we're going to do and not what those assessments will bring out, we have right now a 10% contingency placed on that. We've also placed a 6% overall engineering and project management fee. So that's start to finish the whole way through. And so with all those costs added in right now, y'all are around $9.5 million for all the poor to very poor streets for all of the wards. And so that would include, again, concrete cost, 10% contingency, and then the cost to design, bid, and then oversee the construction.
Does that include any parking lots?
It does include, Alexandria Way, that parking lot and that alley, is on that list.
Is
this
that the
go
only
around.
one?
That's correct. So that's the only one right now. We've kind of systematically
That's in your ward.
hit wards, right?
Councilman Jones?
Yeah, over behind Jay Broussard's.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit more clearly about how the sidewalk issues work, because we're getting a lot of calls recently about some of these older sidewalks in the city. And we had a lady that tripped not long ago.
Right.
But if you look at these, because I walk them quite a bit, some of this is like major tree issues with the roots and stuff. How have we dealt with that?
Right, so there's really two ways we've dealt with it. Public Works is the main way. If something comes up like that, and I'll use the W as an example, years ago, Public Works took down a tree, took out the sidewalk and put it all back. That was all outside of this type of work. If anything big ever comes up that's outside their capability, then we could put it into a contract. So far, we've never done that. The sidewalks in this work has been solely related to the streets that we're paving. So as we pave that street, we complete the street by also completing the sidewalks. What we could do, if there was a 1 off, 2 off, 10 off throughout the city, that maybe we're not paving the street, maybe the street's in good condition and the sidewalk, for whatever reason, has become in disrepair or bad condition and needs to be, we could easily add that to the concrete contract that we do intentionally. Probably the last 3 or 4 times we've done this now, we separate the concrete work from the asphalt work, because we don't want one contractor marking up another contractor's work. So we could add some that we know are issues that, let's just say, Public Works can't get to. So I know some of the ones we've talked about recently, definitely Public Works, within a day, could go out there, demo out, and pull it back. So some of the smaller stuff.
So I asked you about a time frame. When do we need to do our due diligence so this can get done?
The reason so to be honest with you, the contractors we're talking to right now are extremely busy. I think that's why costs are up. We've been told that they don't see a lot coming out, as you can imagine, in the winter, in the fall and winter that we're heading into. And so a lot of times what we find is we'll spend these next 2 or 3 months putting together a good list that everybody's comfortable with, put it out to bid, and therefore late summer, early fall, we're getting a contractor on board, and then he can pave. In Mississippi, you can pave pretty much through December and almost weekly. Whereas once you hit the January and February, you don't get those 50 and risings anymore, and they kind of slow down. Well, that's when your concrete contractor kicks in and does some of their work. So you'll have continual, but I think you'll get a better price, because these companies are able to keep their employees employed during the winter time through this type of work, and so they'll put a better number to it.
So we have a couple of months.
Correct. There is no magic time frame, is what I'm telling you, because of the amount of work I anticipate y'all are going to do. And I'll give you an example though, like MSU, they want to do theirs in the summertime, so they always pin theirs into about a $2.5 million cost, because that's all they can get down in a 2-month time frame. So, but for y'all, you're going to span over at least 6 months to do your work. So no matter what, you're going to probably hit a wet cycle or a cold cycle somewhere in there. So just as long as we're, and what we did last time, to not get a price gouge from the contractors, is we gave them an entire year to accomplish the work. So therefore, they could get it as a filler job. What we were hoping is that your local companies would see that as an advantage to keep their crews busy when they had a gap in work. And so you get it done at a cheaper price by local folks. But we had somebody slip in here from Laurel last time. But nonetheless, I don't think you want to rush your contractor and pay a premium for that. So there's no rush on the time frame at all.
And you'll be starting to work with the council members individually soon, going through the.
Correct. So in the past, what we've done, last time I'll use an example, we had same thing like we have now, a list in front of y'all, 6.5, y'all spoke with some of your financial advisors and came back and said, all right, we're gonna use round numbers, $5 million. So then every ward got cut, basically the same amount. I think every ward except 2, because it had so little. And Ward 2 is a little bit different because it has fewer roads than the others, but it also has drainage issues too. So nonetheless, looking at the list the way it is this time around, it's really not different than what it's been the last few times. And so it's one of those that once y'all set that limit, we'll go back and start working with the council to see what comes off the list.
So you're saying, like for Mr. Mickens' ward, like in Ward 2, if he's got fewer street issues than some of the others, but he could have some drainage issues that this money would cover as well.
Correct.
So he could look at it in that way too, because
Correct.
drainage
And
is a
these are right
huge
now-
deal in our city, because
Correct.
that is affecting these roads.
That's right. And so these are streets only. We didn't look at drainage at all at this point.
But he
because-
could look at drainage in his, if he.
Correct. And there's
Okay.
2 ways to look at that. So the drainage, like we're doing on Beach right now, that's 100% applicable for this funding that we're doing. Whereas if it were to get off and away and unassociated with the road, if it's a ditch running through a property somewhere, these funds couldn't be used for that, but if y'all floated a bond in the past, y'all have included, the language where you could use it for drainage. Does that make
Council,
sense,
is
Jeff?
that-
I was thinking that the Infrastructure Modernization Act did cover drainage.
But I thought it said in association with roadways.
I'll check it.
Yeah, check that. If it's not, then you can use it for drainage anyway. So, but my understanding, it was only drainage associated with roadways, which is pretty easy to do in the city, because imagine how many drainage corridors are associated with roadways. So, beach is one of them, obviously the one we're doing on 15th, so all those would be drainage associations, so. But yeah, so if y'all decided that you can include concrete, drainage, and roadway work within this funding, then that would be something to consider right now. And that's where we need to get together and talk about. And look, I get it, there may be roads, I think about Councilwoman DeChico over on Nash. She has a roadway that there's beavers out there, it needs to be, the drainage needs to be repaired before the road gets fully repaired. And so there's some issues there that she would need to address prior to fixing that road.
Yeah.
But that road's on her list, but the drainage repair is not there.
Well, and that's something that's hard for citizens to understand sometimes. I know that we get a lot of, they just wish we could take money from anywhere and fix the roads. That's why I like to remind everybody that this is difficult stuff to do. All cities around the country are dealing with it, especially in our state. And it was interesting to me when Kevin pointed out to us on an average, and tell me if I'm right on this still, that, you know, the city over the last 20 years basically has spent $1 million a year on trying to improve roads.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people that would find that hard to believe, but it is true.
It is true, and not only that, I remember I was thinking about it this morning. Around 2007, back when we were paying $55 a ton, the council asked, Kevin, what do we need to set aside to keep our roads maintained? And at that time, I always said about $500,000. Well, you put that in today's context, you're now at $1.5 million a year
Right.
that you need to set aside, keep your roads maintained once you catch up. So it's, I feel like you're chasing your tail sometimes the way these costs keep rising, so. But I will say, and what you'll see, on your list, Joe's handing out now, y'all seen our list that, we used to hand out that were way long, talked about everything. We dumbed it down, if you will, right now, because we're not going into detail on these. But what you'll see in the comments section, if y'all are curious on each of these roads, you can see when they were last paved. And what you'll find on these comments, probably 80% of them were paved 2004 or prior to. So in other words, 20 years ago. Some of these streets hadn't been paved. So with that said, they are definitely streets that are in need. Can some of them survive another 3 to 5 years? Sure. But what I don't want to get into is a situation where we let it go too long and you're having to rebuild a road versus just overlay it. So.
We don't want any more Chick-fil-A roads.
Well, y'all, it's a perfect example. Y'all see how expensive it gets if you let it go too far.
I know we do.
Well, I guess while we're on that topic, good news, if y'all haven't heard, is that Mr. Cooper did sign his side of the agreement. So that's moving forward. The contractor plans on, we'll have a meeting next week.
Today.
Is it today? Oh, that's right. It's today at 3 o'clock. And they plan on starting next week.
Yeah,
so
May 30th is the plan.
that should be seen soon as well. Any other questions on that, though?
Questions for Mr. Stafford?
No, sir.
Any questions or comments from the council on anything else? If not, we will stand. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I think this month, Jamie, isn't it, Public Work, National Public Work?
This week.
This week,
National Public
and
Works.
also the fire department, so we just want to acknowledge.
The fire department, not this week, it's, Public Works, the fire department, it was, just acknowledging their loss that they had this week.
Well, we want to acknowledge, as you know, from watching the news, it's always difficult when you lose a life, and so that was really hard for our fire department. So we just want to acknowledge that, and we want to acknowledge our public work department for all of the hard work they do, and continue to support the fire and public work department.
Yes. Thank you. Any other comments?
Mayor, I misstated earlier, and I want to correct it. I said there were 32. There are 63 as of the last time they evaluated. I know of one that has passed since, and they will meet again and evaluate and send us a proposal. I think by the end of June, we'll go down again in December and get new numbers.
And get new numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
I was wondering how they went.
I was going to say, that was a lot, yeah.
So did they all retire? That's what?
I was thinking there was a lot of them that had passed away. All right, if no other questions or comments, we stand adjourned. Thank you.